Divorce lawyers of Reddit, what's the most outrageous reason someone filed for divorce? She saw him in bike shorts and said she could never be sexually attracted to him again. I practically live on a bike path, and let me tell you that some people shouldn't wear bike shorts. Or anything with spandex. Ever. Overheard in court one day a woman wanted to divorce her husband because he likes taking pictures of trains. And had been doing so for years before. The guy is on track. Because she bought a $3,500 dog as a surprise, and when she sent him the picture he responded with this kind of impulsive bullshit is why your family is poor. Double quote. I am a woman. But I agree with the hubby on that one. If it was about loving animals, she could save one from the pound shelter. She obviously is materialistic and wanted a status symbol. A man wanted to divorce his wife, fault and no fault type of divorce, because she was diagnosed with cancer. I've heard of couples doing this in the US, so that the spouse with cancer is entitled to state medical programs that married people are not eligible for. Hopefully it's something like that. Because damn. My friend's wife divorced him because he wasn't black enough. He immigrated to the US from Eritrea, and I guess somehow that's not black enough. Damn. I am Eritrean, it feels personal. During their honeymoon, the wife asked for a Gucci handbag and the husband told her he couldn't afford it because he just spent $200,000 on the wedding plus honeymoon. She filed for divorce after their return. And X200B. Edit. I found the article for proof. Left square bracket. Not qualified. But butting in nevertheless with a story my physician brother told me. His patients tell him everything. One of his patients got divorced because after his girlfriend and he got married. The girlfriend began bugging him about quitting the meds he was taking for depression and anxiety. Because she should be enough or some such thing. He eventually did. Then later she wanted a divorce because he wasn't the same guy she married. I did maybe 5 divorces. I had one client who, after I met her soon-to-be ex-husband, stated, "Do you see how retarded he is? That's why I have to divorce him. If I had known how retarded he was, I never would have married him." The guy fired his lawyer once a month and constantly tried to file obviously fabricated or altered documents when he was between counsel. Eventually, very favorably for my client, we settled since he couldn't find someone to take his case and was looking at felony charges for all the fake documents. I love that case because it was just such a circus and my client was very reasonable. To avoid prison. Guy came in saying he was going to be indicted for many things. The list would have been impressive if it wasn't also sickening. So, he wanted to marry his accomplice because he saw on TV that your spouse can't testify against you without your permission and the accomplice had cut a deal. He just needed to get this pesky marriage to his current wife dissolved. They can't arrest a husband and wife for the same crime. Women want divorce because husband is not at home by 5:00 p.m. She didn't understand that he had a job to do. I dated a girl a couple years back, and if I wasn't home within 5 minutes of the time she expected me to be home, she thought I was cheating on her. My commute from work to home was about 50 minutes to an hour. If I was late she would call me and ask me who I was with. Nobody, I am by myself in my car. Double quote. My friend's parents. Because she was tired of the husband being too short, the same height as when they started dating. She a dum-dum. Not divorce. But breakup. I left a woman cause she lived on the 11th floor without an elevator. What type of person moves into a place like that? I guess you weren't able to rise for the occasion. Edit. Thank you for the silver, kind stranger. He was snoring too loud. That's it. That's the main reason. Sleep deprivation is a form of torture. A guy I know wanted a divorce because his wife had an affair with a junkie, unprotected sex, threatened suicide to their daughter's face and proclaimed her affair was a cry for help. Guy equals me. Hope you got that divorce and your daughter is doing okay. Abuse from your own mother is very difficult to deal with. He didn't file. But he said he videoed his stepdaughter in the shower for the sole purpose of forcing his wife to leave him. Sounds like he got caught and that's how he attempted to exonerate himself to authorities, family, friends, and his boss. I'm not saying the story is impossible. Sure, someone could be that dumb. It's just, in general, you don't want provable or witnessed misdemeanor or felony actions you committed, regardless of if you were charged, be the preface for any legal proceeding. Fart issues are a real thing. I always thought I was gassy just like my dad. Then I stopped drinking milk and realized that, well, milk was what made me gassy. Now I just get gassy if I eat granola, but since my wife eats it too, we just rip nasty farts around the house and laugh about it. I remember seeing a thing where a man won the lottery, and his wife filed divorce so she could get the proceedings of the lottery as part of the divorce. The judge confirmed the divorce and either he kept all the money or she had to pay him. She couldn't stand the sight of him anymore. I was in the military at a recovery unit. Just reporting in. I heard her saying this to a chaplain while he sat there, in a wheelchair. Majority of his skin was covered in burns. 1,000-yard stare. No emotion. I hate people who leave their spouses when they become scarred or disabled. That poor man. So, I'm not a divorce lawyer, but this happened to a good friend of mine. Her brother, Kevin, married a woman that started using Snuggle fabric softener. Kevin ended up having a crazy allergic reaction to the Snuggle, but his wife refused to stop using it because she liked it so much. Even when he washed his own clothes without it, it being used on her clothes still caused a reaction so badly he had to be hospitalized. Still yet, she refused to stop using Snuggle. So, they got a divorce over Snuggle IA. Saw women filed for divorce because her husband farted in bed. My stupid f-king brother wakes his wife up sometimes by farting in her face. I need to point out he's 40. The 16-year-old stepson looked at her repeatedly with disrespectful eyes. Double quote. It was a while ago, but I seem to recall being 16 and looking at quite a lot of people with disrespectful eyes. I think it's a thing. Their spouse rooted for the Eagles. Edit. Thanks for the upvotes, guys. The most I've ever gotten before was 22. So thanks so much. Not a divorce but an interracial couple from my high school had been engaged for almost a year and the man broke it off because races aren't supposed to mix. Double quote. I would lay small amounts of money down that his family got to him. I had a woman call and say she needed an annulment but couldn't find her husband, and hasn't seen him in years. I corrected her that it would be a divorce, not an annulment. She told me they never consummated the marriage so it couldn't be a divorce. I told her that hasn't been the law in a long time, and she fought me on it. I asked her how exactly she intended to prove to the judge with evidence that her marriage wasn't consummated, and that got her upset enough to hang up on me. He squeezed the toothpaste directly into his mouth instead of on the toothbrush. This is why it doesn't hurt to live with someone before you marry them. I actually had a girlfriend in college ask me to FaceTime her while brushing my teeth because she wanted to hear what sound I made when I brushed my tongue and spat. I guess she really didn't like the sound of gagging or something because I passed the test. Some people have some weird deal breakers. 30 minutes after the wedding, bride found him having sex with one of the bridesmaids. That story shocked me. It was my stepdad's client. We weren't married, but I broke up with a girl because she couldn't spell. Even though I liked her a lot, it would have driven me nuts in the long run. Stupid question and the laws may differ between countries. But does one really need to justify a reason for a divorce? Can you not just go and file the paperwork and be done with it? In Germany you can't. I don't know if you need to provide reasons, but you need to wait 1 year before being able to legally divorce someone, cause the court wants you to use that time to reconsider. There's a really young dumb couple divorcing because the husband does a lot of cocaine and other drugs and flipped out one night and threw stuff at her until she locked herself in the bathroom. Turns out he married someone years ago to get to the US. I think he's a citizen now but not sure. And this wife had no idea. So I don't know what happens if they can prove that was fraudulent. There's way more, but I only hear stuff from a friend and he's absolutely psychotic, so the details could identify this one lunatic doing things normal people don't do. Some of the guys at her work were running a train on her. That's the real reason. Her name was Strawberry. Strawberry is the neighborhood hoe. The woman divorced this guy, who also happened to be a previous client of mine, so I knew him well, for refusing to take his opiates that were prescribed to him on a regular basis. Like, homeboy was uncomfortable taking an addictive drug, and that was a problem because I am not a divorce lawyer, but there is this board game my family has called Redneck Life, and at some point everyone must get divorced. One of the reasons is his man boobs were bigger than mine. My first wife, who is obviously now my ex, threatened to file for divorce because I worked late. She said that spending time with family is more important than work. I ended up filing for divorce myself on the grounds of her trying to be a controlling BTCH, like she's my boss. Family is important, but so is money. There is a middle ground. But if you had to work late to keep you guys afloat, then I get it. Love is important. But surprisingly, you can't serve love for supper. The wife said he left the fridge open twice. I looked at the guy and just said I'm sorry with an expression. Not a divorce lawyer but life coach. Knew a man who insisted he needed a divorce because his wife was always wasting money. He gave my list, with receipts, of all things she wasted money on. It included fries at Wendy's, synthetic oil change on her car, groceries, vet bills for their dog. Ian, but my husband demanded a divorce when I wanted to file our taxes. He thinks Trump will abolish the IRS so we don't have to. Fuck me lol. I think you won in this divorce. Good riddance. Not a lawyer, but I remember seeing on the news this guy wanted his kidney back from his ex-wife. Don't tell me. It turns out that the guy is no longer eating at the YMCA. Obligatory. Not a lawyer, but my cousin divorced her husband because she was gay. Always was and always had been. But only got married to appease her fanatically religious parents. The outrageous reason was because she completely blindsided the guy. She dated the first guy that fell in love with her. They got engaged after like 6 months. Had the whole white wedding shebang and got married quite young. I think she was 21? And 6 months after the wedding tells him basically thanks for playing along. Now here is the divorce papers and I'm running off to another state with my lover. Who was the maid of honor, by the way. He was not playing along. He had no clue. Not divorce but similar and wanting to share. My partner's ex took her to court claiming that we were leaving the country with their son, while he had the son's passport. He told his wife of 4 years we should just be friends and then texted her mother-in-law that he wanted a divorce. Her mother-in-law is his mom. I'm not a lawyer nor was I present at the court case, but my cousin's friend knew somebody who divorced her husband because turned down a frick one time because he was gaming. They actually managed to get divorced because she had man hands. So Mickey Mouse is talking to his lawyer and his lawyer says, "I'm sorry Mickey, you can't divorce Minnie on the grounds that she is incredibly silly." Mickey replies, "I didn't say she's incredibly silly. I said she's f***ing goofy." My father divorced a woman who made his sandwich wrong. Well, she made it with an end piece. So he divorced her. He married 7 times. Never to my mother Mayo. So I'm not a lawyer, but my brother first was because she tried to drown their kids. She said someone on the TV looked at her and told her to do it. Second divorce was because she left him for her lifelong best friend's sister, then she leaves her wife for my brother again. They are getting married again in October. I broke up with a guy because he wouldn't clean out his cat's litter box regularly. The cat stank up my house and ruined the wall next its litter box. The final straw was when the dude went to Florida with his friends and left a full of shitty litter box behind without him ever asking me to take care of the cat while he was gone. I'm sure I seemed like the crazy one in the situation. But I didn't care. It took a month for the smell to go away and I deep cleaned that f***ing room twice. She divorced him for buying a high point, not because of him spending money buying the gun but because it was a high point. This was from a Dear Abby. Woman's married 40 years. Husband had been working late telling her he's going over the books. Come find out he had warehouse full of boots. He had a boot fetish. Should she divorce him? Not a divorce lawyer but the news story of the couple that was enjoying time in their backyard in front of a fire pit. The husband being the dumbass that he has added either alcohol or gasoline to keep the flames from getting too low. This led to the fire engulfing his wife. The accident caused major burns all across her body. After her recovery he left her and their little girl cause he couldn't look at her anymore. My mom found out my dad was cheating. His excuse? She was too Christian. And he was getting bored with their relationship. Lead to a really messy divorce and it's still not finished. I can explain in detail if you want. Just ask in replies. My godmother blindly believes in Christianity. Signs. Witches. I'm sorry for her husband. Chilled up dude. But sometimes when he speaks up for his point he gets aggressive, she says. Honestly. I couldn't stand her in family. Not a lawyer. But heard about this right after the Frozen movie came out. A man divorced his wife because she watched the movie too much. I would have to agree with him because that movie is awful. Not a lawyer but when my friend's dad was asked why he wanted a divorce he just said she's a bitch. I work at a divorce court and a high school friend came in with her stepmom and ex-boyfriend from back in HS. We graduated 12 years ago. Apparently, the stepmom was finally divorcing the dad after 14 years of cheating on the dad with her stepdaughter's boyfriend. The entire interaction was super weird cause I wasn't helping them. Conflict of interest, but was sitting in the clerk's booth right next to them as the guy flirted with both of them. Guy slapped his wife in the face with his DCK while she was sleeping on the couch. She filed for a protective order alleging domestic abuse. He filed for divorce. Depending on size and erectness that could actually hurt a lot or not at all. Either way the woman had no humor and the man obviously didn't even remotely try to know beforehand whether or not it was an okay thing to do. Things like that are only fun if both parties agree it is. So, there was this RP case in India called the Nirbhaya RP case, which was in court for 7 years until the rapists recently got hanged till death. Their lawyer was such a shameless, yet clever, man that he would not appeal to the next court until the end of the deadline. If the deadline is of 14 days, he would appeal on the 13th day, just to delay the punishment. Finally, as their death was approaching, the rapists' wives appealed in court for divorce, saying that it wasn't their fault that their husbands did this crime. And instead of being a widow, they might as well be divorced. Even though they never actually got divorced and the rapists finally got hanged. This is still the most outrageous reason I ever saw why someone filed for divorce. To delay the husband's punishment. Not extremely proud but one of my exes left me because I flung a hash brown at her and burned her leg with it. She was upset I bought McDonald's after going to the beach with friends. In high school my girlfriend, at the time, slapped the bottom of my MT2 bottle while I was drinking and it cut my lip open bleeding. I calmly poured the MT2 over her head. I'm not a divorce lawyer, but I've heard some people break up with their female spouses after finding out the next day that they look completely different without makeup. Don't know how true it is though lol. Hey. If he's stupid enough to think her eyelids really are sparkly purple, I guess he gets what he gets. My friend is a divorce lawyer and she told me a wife wanted to divorce her husband due to that he is gay. She cited they had been married for a week but they never had sex and said he couldn't even get erected seeing her naked. My friend is a divorce lawyer and told me this story. Woman wanted to divorce her husband because he offered her to go to McDonald's instead of an expensive restaurant. She called him poor and a broke FCK. Turns out the woman was very poor and the man was a business owner but hadn't told his wife. The judge even laughed about it when the man told his wife he owned a McDonald's. The same McDonald's he offered her to go to.